Okay, hi again in the car, recording, wearing purple, which I can't even believe that I have this shirt too, but it's Krav Maga. So, um, yes, I like purple these days. For some reason, I didn't actually found out until like maybe 5 years ago. It's actually a spiritual color, which I would not associate a color with spirituality other than white being of light. But so today is October 31st. And I could probably go into talking about, I don't know to say a holiday or celebration, but I'm not going to. All these different things that we do in our culture, following certain traditions. Some people don't celebrate as well, right? Could talk about that. But yesterday I recorded, I haven't posted it up yet. I talked a little bit briefly about the topic of love, and it is a very big topic, and I wasn't going to go into it today, but I thought, because I think this is a good thing to go Instagram live or something and ask people what they want to hear me talk about, because there's so many different things I can talk about aside from making different playlists. If I'm going to be doing this daily thing, it's always going to be inclusive of just my whole vault. There might be some repetitiveness in the information, but I think it's easier if I just go and talk about what I feel like at the time needs to be talked about. Is the best for me, because sometimes I plan things and I'm like, maybe I don't want to talk about that. With that being said, I wanted to say in this episode solo that the overall, my list, this is what I do, like a poster board sort of thing, my layout, which I like it because I can see everything, is that all the different topics I can talk about, because not a lot of you know, unless you've been following me for like 20 years on my Facebook page, and that just has evolved over time. But while it could really go deep into all these sorts of things, at least if you're just listening now, you'd be like, okay, well, what other things can she talk about? If you already know about my body image issues and going there, I can definitely go in and talk about all that kind of stuff more, but I've mostly only in videos talked about, so I've talked about the holistic scope and the model. I've talked about body image issues. I've talked about self-defense, of course, and assertiveness and becoming introvert, extrovert. So if we were to start from the beginning, and I'm just going to go over quickly here. So sense of awareness, and how you perceive the outside world is like the roots of everything. Okay. And then when I go into mindset talking, it's different mindset training, belief systems, these illusions, and all things about how to build the unique you, which I do talk about in some previous episodes, healing oneself naturally and with the mind, managing inner struggles, a lot of those things maybe that we don't share with other people, and managing the negative thinking. Relationships, I talked about the love, platonic, romantic, and I included in this list family, and blood and not blood. Spirituality, the difference between this and organized religion, picking what works for you. Soul connections, life connections, creating and attracting the life you want. Under personal struggles would also be needs, attaching, desires, career, work ethic, dealing with people, coworkers, financial success, goal achieving, your lifestyle. I call it harmonizing work-life balance instead of balancing, harmonizing work life, because balance, when you have the spinning plates, and how are you able to ever keep one at a balance, because one will just go up and down, right? Changing all the time. Alternative holistic therapies outside of the box, right? Because that's what I've studied Eastern medicine too, things to combine Eastern and Western philosophies and concepts, techniques, the outside world, including our government, which is a huge part of my activism and talking about that. And then the self-defense part, that comes all back in there with building yourself and boundary setting and compassionate assertiveness. So basically, I have all these tips, techniques, all these different things. I haven't given you guys a lot of life examples, and I wanted to do that, but again, I don't really know where to begin. And I feel like a lot of my examples really have to do with becoming assertive, because I've always, while I was an introvert, had very strong opinions. If we're going to go into the whole government talking thing, is from a young age, that consciousness of, I guess, culture. From a very young age, I mean, it was looking at basically like nutrition labels, and even like Doritos, right? Doritos and Pepsi. And I'm like, why are they putting all these chemicals in these products? Like, there's got to be something cancer causing or something in it. And that was like about, yeah, I want to say like 14 or something like that. So people that want to talk about, like, when they hear things that the government is doing, like, that you cannot fathom or believe, and they think it's like they're calling it a conspiracy. If you think about it, if you just think that a lot of things, if you observe out there, is about power and control over people, it will make more sense to you. Because let's not even look at it from this perspective of they are trying to kill us, right? You're not thinking about that. Why would they do that? And whatever it is. Doritos, I'm giving an example, a product, they're trying to sell a product to people. Now, if it makes them addicted, it's going to get them to purchase more of it, right? So it makes sense. Very smart when you think about it. And then when you actually go to research those ingredients and you find out how many are potentially toxic, then that's a whole nother thing. It's like, okay, it's cheap ingredients. This is the same thing with skincare. They're using things that don't necessarily even do anything for the skin. It's actually to emulsify the product, to create a slip and glide, to preserve the product, which there are natural ingredients that can do that. So once you start educating yourself on what we are purchasing, what we are consuming, even if you are not growing your own food, right, in the ground, preparing it yourself, you don't know what's going on. So I laugh at all the strawberries I've seen over the last year that are like this big, and I'm wondering, like, how many hormones are being injected into that. So I am not the first one bringing up this sort of a thing, that as consumers, the more we buy, the more we whatever follow what everybody else has been doing and don't question, that is a control over us, right? So to put it very frankly and bluntly, is that, which I'm not afraid to do, is that in the end, we are the laughing stock, if you want to think of it, because we are paying money for things, we are following things against what we feel, we are doing these things that, as I would explain it, is okay, the best way to say it, if you want to say structure and different things that repress, that keep us repressed, it's a power struggle, power trip. I don't think there's anything more to explain other than this stuff has been going on for so long. Authoritarian rule. And I use authoritarian rule as in, it could be parents, it could be teachers, it could be whatever. People used to think of cops, all these people higher ups and people that we put on certain pedestals. I was the people pleaser. This is how I can put this all together. So people still, those of us that were raised under authoritarian control, being told no, like, my dad only actually got spanked a few times. So maybe this makes more sense to you. I think this is a good time to talk about it, because there's so much stuff in the media that's so confusing. Whether you follow or believe certain things or not, you have to admit there's certain things that don't make sense. And I'm not just talking about pandemic. The masks and the not masks and the touching and the not touching, and then just all these sorts of things that have come around in history through movies. If you haven't looked at different things. There's lots of things like historically that things keep coming back around. Now they're showing all the Exorcist movies. Now they're talking about Satanism. Now they're talking about like a revamping, a revitalization of all these things, viruses, racism, all these things that I feel like when I say we're a laughing stock, it's like, are you going to do something or not? How much are we going to, I look at it as let them try to control our lives. And some people, I understand you're maybe not putting it together as a, what do you mean I'm letting them? Well, it depends on the situation and how you look at it. I get it. But I can give you tons of more examples, like so many things that I have a list in all my different maps that I've written about. Like, I got to tell people about this. As soon as I learned, for example, giving out our social security number, we were doing that for so long. And it's like, there's other ways to identify us now. So why were we doing that? You know, that's one thing. And then things that I learned going through self-defense and the assertiveness training, right? And feeling guilty, not feeling confident, and all these sorts of things. Something as simple as going to the register when you're making a purchase and somebody's asking you for your email address. It's like, why didn't I just say, no, I don't want to do that? I don't need to do that, or why are you doing that? Because, maybe it's not for a newsletter, maybe it's not for deals, maybe it's for something else. So the fact that I saw that I wasn't speaking up and asking questions, and it's interesting when you do that, especially with doctors, which I didn't want to get into that can of worms, but that has been my experience in working in aesthetics, that I heard so many different stories with dermatologists and doctors as well. And I'm not blaming anybody, because sometimes it comes from, this is just what they know. This is just what they know. If you want to say also ignorance of what they don't know, we're not blaming anybody. That's why I'm saying working alongside. But how many stories that my clients were prescribed things that were not for their specific situation? Like a client who said, Nora, I'm going to stop using this cream. I went to see my dermatologist to do my regular visit for dry skin, and my skin started turning brown, and I looked it up and it was recommended as chemo medicine. Like, so I have so many other stories, and because I know how the body knows how to heal itself, that's the only reason like I can speak to you on these things, because when I would look at people's skin, even if it was acne, is a result of something going on in the body, and pigmentation, and women being on birth control and showing up, and melasma showing up, and all these different things during pregnancy, melasma, or after, coinciding with that. And like 7-year-olds, when I was coaching girls on the run, that she was like 7 years old, she had eczema, which can be an allergic reaction, right? Internal allergic reaction. There's different things that can cause it. But she was being recommended steroid creams, bleach baths, and I can't remember what else. So all that I'm saying is that there is another way. And that's how I started getting into all the different holistic approaches. And now, right now, we're really getting off track because I was talking about government. But doctors, when you start questioning, and I know at one point, like when I started asking, like, why are you recommending these things? They had an answer, but they didn't like, okay, why are you going to recommend that for that when it's going to, I'll say, for instance, cortisone shots. I think they recommend that for acne to help with the swelling and inflammation, and do it in a quick way, which, is good to know. But I've heard it being used more like repetitively, like more often as a way to treat it. The same thing with Retin-A for just one pimple, or I'm sorry, Accutane, which is something you take internally and it dries up all your body and all these different things. But people I had heard been recommending it for just one pimple on their face. So really questioning, and now with Google these days, you can look up everything, that you can be prescribed. And so basically just questioning. So questioning government, questioning authority is going to rock the boat. People don't like that shit. They don't. That's just a fact. And so that might be one of the very reasons that, somebody, yes, would not like it, that I ask a lot of questions. But to find my truth. So everything that's been going on in the media and hearing different information, and even with the mass shootings, even the whatever, whether you spiritually believe in all this stuff or not, that there's some sort of warfare going on. The point is, it all comes back to empowering us. Okay, so you may not think it's a big deal. Some people don't even think this deep, and as you get older too, I can see as life goes by, we're all gonna die eventually from something. It's interesting too to be in wellness for so long, trying to eat well, buying these certain products, all these different things, and it's like, still alive. Like, I tried my best. It's like, was I trying to do that to live longer? Yes, to feel healthy, but like, is it for in fear of dying? I think it was a bunch of different things. Because I think I told you, some of you, in the past 6 years, I really grew a lot in a lot of different ways, but especially looking at death. I definitely became less fearful of death during the self-defense time, but then as time went on, the way I perceive my relationships, and I've seen so many people come and go, that I've grieved them almost like a physical death. I have learned to appreciate, like they say. People have said, oh, you just don't appreciate that until you get older. Or, you just don't view it the same way as, like, I don't know. I guess I just didn't really view it like that. So now I really, really, really value those precious moments. So I really feel like I've gone through a lot there, like they were physical deaths. So I think that's all I'm going to say today. I guess overall, while I intermingled the stories in there, which is what I do, the overall thing that I was wanting to share is the government, questioning authority, and question anybody for that matter. That's why when I get services done, I basically interview everybody, because I'm paying them, right? We are paying them. So as far as us jumping through hoops, because that person, whatever it is, right? We heard that they did the best eyebrows. That's what it was in my industry. Or they did the best whatever. And then sometimes you find out that is false, and that I did just as good a job. So interviewing people, asking questions, doing your own research, that's a part of educating oneself. Back in the day when, not everybody had a brand new car, like, I would like to take my car in and know, when I take my car in, like, I know what they're talking about. I don't want to be a dumbass, like, I don't know what that is and how that works and whatever, and just have a sense of just knowing, and then you just pay the bill and they just scammed you. So all this stuff, there's such a long list I can give you of life examples, and just my observations. It's just observations and dealing with people and managing myself within the world. But if you asked me, okay, now what? Like, okay, now I understand what you're saying about government. I understand all that sort of stuff. Well, while you're here, do you want to do something or not? I will close with about whatever it means to you. You can be like, oh, well, I'll just be in my own world. Who cares? But out here in Sacramento, actually, this may have been in Ileton. Somebody said she paid $16 for a hot dog, and coffees are now $7. Then we will keep being people like that. All of us, whatever it is, buying out of convenience. But I was going to close with an example for you. and now I am forgetting. It was about, not about making purchases. Um, I'll include it next time. There's just way too much in my brain. Speaking of, oh, school. I will finish with this last comment. I really liked my daughter's school for a long time. It was both blend of like academic and arts. It's lotto, so you have to like sign up for it to and get picked into it. But she got picked and all good, and that was all good. And she went there till about 7th grade. So we went on kick-ass field trips and things like that. But really, what turned me off, we were actually able to do a youth empowerment program there shortly. But what turned me off in the end, which was making the decision, okay, what do I want to do? Like, are we going to stay here? Is that the vice principal, this is going back to, do you want to take action? Do you want to take charge? It just because it's not affecting you, like, are you going to do anything? Right? Okay. So I asked the vice principal, I was like, oh, so we can, could we have a meeting, how to help prevent and educate, about school shootings, like stuff going on? And she's like, you know how hard it is to get parents to school meetings here. And I just said to myself, the fuck you just say? You're telling me that parents would not try to make an effort to come to a meeting that we are going to talk about this kind of stuff? And I just totally was horrified after that. And just further things that she said that I just want to say, like, are dumb. I don't like to use that word or say things like that, but everything I brought up, like about some sort of other additional locked gates or bringing up other solutions, like the front door, anybody can walk in and things like that. And also, I know school shootings, they happen, kids that go there also, is is a factor too that end up shooting up schools. But the fact that I wanted to talk about it, like, I knew it was kind of hippie, but like I really was not expecting that reaction. So it's just up to us as parents, as people, like what we're going to put up with and what we're willing to stand up for, really, ultimately. And like I said, we're all going to die. I know that sounds really morbid, but we're going to die eventually, the physical death. So while we are here, what do we want to do to take action on the things that are important to us? That's all. Everybody has their different thing of what's important to them. It doesn't always have to be some deep, deep cause or anything like that. Just for me, it happens to be. And so that's my personal situation and view about it. So I hope that kind of gives some clarity around whatever you believe or don't believe or whatever. Okay, we're addressing like government things. Maybe this just helps provide some insight, and yet from another person who's gone through this and so far in this life, and just the different things I've observed in culture that are just a part of the culture that I feel need to change. It's like a whole thing, right? A whole cultural thing, just like I said about the social security number and different things that we live. And again, I can go off and on and on and on about different things that I've seen, including life insurance, dealing with my mom over 6 months and them not basically wanting to pay out, and they're asking for pictures of her. I'm like, do you need to see her skull? Is that like enough proof? What's wrong with just the death certificate? So you pay into these things, life insurance, right, to help those that you love afterwards. You would not think you have to prove something like that. And then everybody saying, I'm sorry for your loss. And do they even mean it? And just, I'm talking about the insurance people. Every time they call, it's like a standard sort of protocol script. Again, I'm not blaming. It's called just being empathetic of other people. And I don't even totally love that saying. I know I'm probably the only one, because the way we look at death, I would prefer to not look at it as a loss because they are always in our heart, even though we are losing a physical. I get that. But to say something like that, I wish there was something kind of better to just say, or I guess like they say nothing. But during that time, yeah, in dealing with the life insurance. So that is just another example of cultural things, how they send us things in the mail early on, even in your 40s, talking about burial sites and different things that you'll get already preparing you for like dying. So I'd just like you to look at these different things. And when you look at these different things, maybe you'll understand what I'm saying. But there's a lot of stuff that's not new. I think I'm just not new information. It's just I'm delivering it in a different way. And my life experiences have helped me come to these analyses. And so I would love to give you more examples. I will give you more examples from my life when maybe I get more feedback, because there's like so many things I can give you. It's not like anything wild or crazy. It's just more interactive, you know, excuse me, talking about girl drama, things like that. Okay, so I will talk to you soon. And I don't know, I hope you got some value out of this and that I was clear. Always appreciate the constructive feedback. Okay, people? Bye.